Nick Schramm, hello. Eugene Guerrera, Barb Randall, Peter Glick, Jeff and Jane Greasy, Jan Kiefer already jumping into the Zoom room. We're going to give this a minute or so till we get to the top of the hour, and then we are going to be talking with an insane person who has decided to, you just have to hear the story. It's really impressive. Stefan Meyer, hello, sir. Tom Randall, good to see you. Jeff Goss, nice to see you. Debbie Long, awesome. The Mannings are in from Colorado. Sean and Marilyn tuning in.
Colorado in the house.
Colorado is in the house.
We're in Colorado, we know.
The Mannings are right outside of Denver and Highlands Ranch.
Oh, okay. I have sisters in Boulder.
That is your fault.
Ask them if they know Kathy Sabin. That's another whole story. Yeah, she's the weather person. She's a meteorologist for what is it? The K News, NBC affiliate.
They actually
Nine News, yeah.
All right, we are at the top of the hour, so we are going to get this show cracking. This is SIP episode 35. 35 weeks of sheltering in place, physically, just not socially. And we are going to be addressing some fantastic wine this evening with good longtime Cellar Angels friend Jeff Loomis of Loomis Vineyards. What is Cellar Angels? Cellar Angels is a private online direct-to-consumer wine curator. We source wines only from Napa and Sonoma. You cannot get these wines in stores. And this time on every Friday night, we get to bring one of these winemakers into your living rooms, into your patios. Maybe not much patio going out on the Northeast these days. Although last week they had 5 consecutive days in the 70s. I do want to let everybody know that looking at the website, you should be well aware that this week is your last week to order the Thanksgiving kits that we've put and custom designed for you to get there in time of the holidays. So if you actually go to the Cellar Angels website, you will see the SIP virtual wine tasting kits, which everyone is ordering because that allows you to drink along with the winemaker every single Friday night, rotating selection there. But this Thanksgiving wine kit, 3 bottles, 6 bottles, or 12 bottles strictly for when you have a lot of the in-laws and relatives over because you need more nourishment and courage and restraint. And also the wine we're going to be talking about right here, Loomis Estate Vineyards 2018 Rhône style blend. I also want to thank our wardrobe sponsor, Zoetic Wines, because if you have a shirt and you send it to me, I will wear it and you are a wardrobe sponsor. So if you've got some swag and you're a winery, actually, even if you're not a winery, if you're a car wash, if you're a restaurant, if you're anything like that and you want us to wear, we're okay. Just feel free to reach out via email and we'll get you set up. We are thrilled to actually be doing this for 35 weeks, and we're seeing some things around the country where it looks like it's getting a little bit more dangerous. So please consider us your de facto Friday night date night. We drink very, very serious wines without taking ourselves too serious. And with that, I absolutely want to say, by the way, the Mannings the studio is informing me that the Mannings actually do know Kathy Sabin.
Yeah, of course they do.
So that's pretty impressive. Thank you.
That's a whole long story too, but yeah.
What isn't? I mean, are you kidding me? Let me, without further ado, by the way, I want to point one other thing out that some people don't notice is the filter section on the Cellar Angels website, where you can just filter by Napa reds and then apply the filter, and then you will only have Napa red wines. So this is a very useful thing as the website grows and the inventory grows. All of the wines now just get filtered to the top, and that is something that will save you a lot of time as you're scrolling through the wines.
Nice.
I want to express an instant debt of gratitude and appreciation to Jeff Loomis, because Jeff, as I said, we actually go back to 2012, I think is when I looked up the first communication. He has been a tremendous fan and friend of Cellar Angels, has graciously hosted us up at the property behind me, which is actually his property as well. He was kind enough about 4 years ago to say, hey, let me help you with your website hosting. And we took it from the Philippines, brought it back to the mainland United States, India. And he has been a godsend of tech talent, kindness, compassion, in addition to great wine. And so I want to introduce to you a good friend of ours, a great wine ambassador, ladies and gentlemen, Jeff Loomis of Loomis Wines.
Wow, honored, Martin. Thank you so much. Hello, everybody. Angels, what's going on out there?
And that's all the time we have this evening.
Yeah,
I would
thank you for coming. So when I was in 4th grade.
No, I'm not even certain how you and I first met. I don't remember
I
it.
don't know either. God, somebody must have introduced us. I don't know.
Somebody must, yeah. Like we always say, great wine brings people together. And
Or you were helicoptering over undisclosed locations. Go, what's that?
Yeah, there's a chance that could have happened. Hello, Nelson Holden. Nelson Holden does not have the ember in his glass because of a Cellar Angels mistake. So we apologize for that. That will be remedied.
When he gets it in his hand, I'm happy to talk to him, separately or on Zoom too.
Yeah, that's very nice. Michelle Marcella, hello, young lady. Catherine Jerica, very nice to see you. Jim Brubaker, another Colorado person who also likely knows Kathy Sabin. And who else am I missing here? Catherine Popkin, new person on Zoom.
Newbies, so, bring them.
So we met 8 years ago, and I was intrigued by the story. And the story is again, one of passion. And it's because, it's funny, when we owned the retail wine store, all of the staff loved Rhône varietals.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, the commercial acceptance to the American palate always seems to lag behind the big six of Chardonnay, Sauvignon Blanc, Riesling. Dan Guderis, hello on Facebook, Cab, Pinot Merlot. Yep. So it was always challenging to get folks to experiment because, first of all, they've never heard of Mourvedre. They've never heard of Grenache, and, all of those things. And yet you took a liking to them. And I want to divulge the story, but I don't want to divulge the story because the story also has a poll question related to it.
Right.
So actually, you know what? I'm going to launch the poll question first, and then you can tell me the story.
Tell the story. Okay, sure.
So you fell in love with Rhône wines. So everyone is Doug Rutherford. Hello, sir. Get your mice ready to be able to answer the question quickly, and no cheating.
I don't get the answer.
You don't get the answer. Yeah. Jeff fell in love with Rhône wines during a digital marketing seminar at the Vatican with bottles from the Pope's cellar. During a college semester in France, while courting French firm Louis Vuitton as that's all they drank.
Yeah. Where's all of the above?
Unfortunately, Zoom is actually awesome for polls. Facebook is not so good at polling.
Gotcha.
So since we're broadcasting live on Facebook polls only allow 3 answers. I'm going to give this about another 8 seconds, 7, because I know people are getting on their smartphones and cheating.
Can't cheat.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Apparently people did some darn homework.
Oh no. Oh, wow. Okay. Who said the Vatican?
I'm a big fan. I'm a big fan of that one.
I know. And Louis Vuitton. Okay. Sounds good. Good job,
All
guys.
right. So this is, I think, what attracted me a little bit early on to Jeff, because even in our first video in 2013, you were telling me about this experience, and I had to go time out. This is an absolute crock. This is not happening.
It doesn't sound real, right? It
doesn't sound real. So how did you get in? How did you get into the Rhônes?
It's that kind of insanity theme that runs through all of this too. So I went to the Harvard of the West Coast, University of Oregon, and did a study abroad in Avignon, and started out with a couple nights in Paris, where I promptly blew my entire Pell Grant on a bottle of Dom Perignon on the Champs-Elysees. So we took the train down to Avignon. I lived with a family in a little village called Montfavet. Prior to that bottle of Dom at Fouquet's, I was, wetting my whistle with the usual college First Gross, Blue Nun, Mad Dog 2020, and the omnipresent Asti Spumanti. So
all the staples of the young wine drinkers.
All the goodies, nothing but the best, the Latours of the worst. So I didn't really have an extensive wine knowledge. And I was riding my bike to school, which I did every day, to Avignon, which is about 6 kilometers away. And one day I saw this sign, and it was pointed toward this place. And I'm like, I'm going to go explore today, skip out on school. So I rode my bike out to this place, this little village, and I was like, what is this? This is called what? Châteauneuf-du-Pape. and new house of the popes. And I went in a little wine shop and I spent a couple francs on just average jug wine and tasted it. And it was kind of a revelation. I'm like, so this is what real wine tastes like. So it's argued that the first real wine I ever had were Rhône varietals. So, and some of the best in Châteauneuf-du-Pape too. So I kind of thought then, even though I was a young, broke, especially after the Fouquet's college student, that if there's ever a day that I would have vines or have a winery or have something like that, I would plant Rhône varietals. So flash forward to 2000, and I found this land.
Wait, let me back up there for a second.
Sure.
So you went to school at the University of Oregon.
Yes.
Why?
I was going to UCLA and I went with a buddy up to Eugene to see the campus in July and fell in love with it because it is a gorgeous campus. A little naive about the weather patterns of the Northwest at the time and thinking like, why do I want to go to LA when I can go here? And so I decided to go there and I showed up in September and it didn't stop raining for 4 years.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
And so now where did you grow up?
I grew up in the Bay Area. I was born in San Jose. So
Got
I lived along the peninsula all my life too. So very familiar with Napa and San Francisco, obviously, and spent a lot of time there.
So you neglected to look at the weather patterns of Oregon.
Did not have a raincoat, did not have a sweater. No.
Yeah.
California boy. Yeah.
Which explains the desire to go to a semester overseas.
At least one, yes.
Yes. Hello, Linda, Jim Brewbreaker's neighbor. Appreciate you coming on.
Hi, Linda.
What do you think, percentage-wise, your attendance of classes was during that semester?
Wow. I think I made a really good run at 50%. So, I want to go 50.01, something like that too. They gave us a week off after midterms and I went to Morocco. So that gives you kind of an idea where my mind was.
So, and now you're still heavily involved with the university, yes?
Yes. Yeah.
Do you ever talk to them about the curriculum for their semesters at, overseas to just say, guys, you can't cram that?
They wanted me to do a professor tenure up there in advertising. And I'm like, I think it would be better if we talked about the study abroad program. So they're fun. They're fun.
So
it's a great school.
So this was the magical part of the story, which just sounded so farcical. About I was riding my bike through Avignon and I decided to stop off at Châteauneuf-du-Pape. And it's just like, excuse me, what?
Yeah. Totally random, totally out of the blue. I had no idea what it was.
And how old were you? Like 22, 23?
No, I was 20.
20.
Yeah, 20
okay.
years old. Yep.
I'm sure the statute of limitations of buying wine illegally.
I think I'm going to be okay. Yeah. In France, it's like, if you're high enough to reach the bar, I think you're okay.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
And so that was the magical epiphany where something went off in your head and you said, holy cow.
It kind of made sense. There was depth, there was complexity, there was flavor, there wasn't all this sugar, there was a savory aspect to it too. And it just made an indelible impression. I think, you have wines throughout your life and you may forget them, but then you taste something similar and it kind of takes you back.
Right.
I had that revelation at a small wine bar in Paris a couple of years ago. And I'm like, how did I know? Because we were guessing wines and it was some crazy ass wine. And I came pretty close. And he goes, how the hell do you know that? I said, well, I had this wine, 20 years ago and I remembered it. And it tasted like that. And there's kind of some kind of weird memory that you have for wines at times. You don't remember the names necessarily, the specific knowledge, but you remember the experience. And I think that's the key thing about wines for me, is about the experience, obviously.
I couldn't agree with you more. It's the olfactory sensations are wonderful, and I get all that, but the memories and the neuronal triggers that they fire off inside your mind were like, oh, I remember this. We were sitting at such and such. And
exactly. The Dom was less memorable, but Fouquet's was.
No, and now that you're in the business, paying full retail at a restaurant probably further digs that Pell Grant into you.
It's always it's always interesting there. Yeah, restaurant pricing for wines too. Sure.
Exactly. So then in 2000, you stumble across
I found
property.
I found 60 acres of raw. Well, I was looking for a weekend home. And I didn't want to go to Tahoe like everybody on the planet who lives in the Bay Area. Tahoe's great, but it's a gigantic chore to get to on weekends. There's massive traffic, and in a good day, it takes 3-4 hours minimum. And Napa was close, and Napa was fun, and you know, horses would be involved. I've got to, you know, still have a horse. Had a few before, so it kind of was like, this makes sense to create kind of a ranch farm environment too. And oh, by the way, even though it's 2,000 feet up in the middle of an oak forest, I'm gonna plant some grapes here.
Well, and it's funny because we always tell Cellar Angel supporters that we find the wines that you can't find. And,
Yeah.
and when I show people via Google Earth where your house is,
Yeah.
these people are gonna be amazed, because Jeff is actually sitting, I mean, this is Jeff's driveway.
Yep.
And you drive up a road, white knuckled, that's about the size of a golf cart path.
Yeah.
And if there is oncoming traffic, it's over. I mean, I don't know where you turn off. There's no shoulders, and you're going to go down a 5,000 foot.
Pretty good cliff. Yeah.
Yeah. And then you take a left in this driveway. Oh, this actually,
Yeah.
And then you've got the pond, which Jeff has as his backdrop. So you can see how lush and beautiful this estate is. And yes, it is surrounded by oaks. Scotland, not yet. Where Scotland's asking, is it Google Earth time? Google Earth is Google Earth is ahead of the program.
Oh, I love it.
And for the record, Google is not a sponsor.
Yeah. Okay.
So the Rhône varietal strike, you find this place. What year was this? That you bought the ranch?
2000.
2000?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And as you can see behind you, and not so much behind me, this is pretty steep terrain.
It's very steep. Yeah.
And how did you, I mean, you can't just clear land and plant a vineyard, but you decided to plant 4 vineyard blocks.
So yeah, so it's the property is 60 acres, and I walked every foot of it, and I found 4 acres originally that I thought would be ideal for certain Rhône varietals. There was nothing wrong with Cab, nothing wrong with Chardonnay, but I didn't want to be the 1,001st Cab guy in Napa. Right? There's so many great cabs. I wanted to be something a little different, and why not follow the inspiration and experiences that kind of change your life and kind of fulfill that dream too. So I found, I hiked everywhere and did have to do some clearing, but I found a rock cap, and I'm like, okay, this is where the Syrah block goes. This is my Petit Hermitage. This is where I'm going to plant all the Syrah. You know, and Côte Rôtie, it's all rock underneath too. Syrah is a very vigorous varietal, and you need to devigor it. And you can do that with certain rootstocks, and also by planting it on rock caps. So that seemed to be right.
Now, did you, as you were walking and planning and kind of putting this vision into reality, you had to actually tell other people. And did they look at you like you had 3 heads, or were they just like you?
The ones who knew me knew I was insane to begin with, and the ones who didn't know me just kind of shook their head and they're like, "Really?" You know. And I would say, "Look, it's going to be great wine or great salad dressing. I don't know which. You know, either way, it's going to be good." Okay.
Right.
And so, but realize I took 5 years before planning to do this, right? And I took 3 years to find the right areas. And then after clearing, you know, I took 2 years to naturally winter the land. As opposed, you can get oak root fungus and stuff out with gassing, and there's a lot of nasty ways to get rid of that. I wasn't going to do that. I wanted it to be natural, right? We're not certified organic, but we're about as close as you can be without it, right?
Right.
We have sheep to graze the rows, and anyway. So the idea was to let the land naturally recover on its own. Literally hand picking pieces of oak trees out, you know, and over a 2-year period, and really kind of, you know, trying to be the custodian, the shepherd of this land. Is, you know, if we're going to be, you know, we all know that great wine comes from great farming, right? 95% of it is really about what you get out of the land. So it was important for me to get that good start. And I consulted a few experts, a couple of French guys who had quite a bit of great expertise in that area too. And they had the same response about shaking their head and thinking I was pretty crazy about to try this too. But they were full of admiration and enthusiasm to try it, right?
Well, let me fill in the gap, because there is, the bike ride in Avion.
Yep.
You graduate college.
Yep.
You're in the Bay Area. What did you do to be able to afford a weekend home in mountain country of Napa? I mean, what was
I started an ad agency, started myself and grew it to a fairly good size and headquartered in San Francisco. And I needed kind of a retreat. I needed a place to go where cell phones didn't work at that time, which was one of the greatest things ever.
Right, exactly.
Sorry, I didn't get that call. It was good.
So, and you started the ad agency when?
I started in 1997. Yeah, 97.
And you're still in the ad business today?
Yeah, yep, definitely.
Yep. And you have now, it's interesting the matriculation process of business people, because I see this in law, I see this in real estate, I see this in medicine, I see this in advertising and insurance, where everyone goes and works for the big folks and they, gravitate and go right up, and then they get kind of near the top. They're like, yeah, this isn't fun. I'm not having any fun. And then they go hang a shingle out themselves, and they just enjoy the heck out of being in business themselves.
Yeah, I never did the big folks. I just did it myself and then grew it. And so got pretty big. Had an office in Paris and at Austin, Boston, Paris, Tokyo, and Shanghai. So it was there was a lot of travel. But you get to the same point. It's not fun anymore. So latest incarnation of an agency is a little different program and a little more hands-on. And I actually get to do some of the work, which is nice. So
right.
But I think you're right. It's about creating something. And that's kind of what I've always enjoyed doing. And I got into advertising because it's the only thing I could really think of that melded art and business. So you could be creative and still be in business in a way too. And wine is kind of the same way too.
Yeah, I was just going to say there's an absolute parallel to wine, because I mean, you have the art science balance, exactly, and also the business aspect, but exactly, you do get to create something. And so now you're walking this land, you spend 5 years clearing it. Yeah. And as folks remember from last week, or if they don't, we had a great couple on from Lampeter Vineyards, and they have the highest vineyard on Mount Veeder. Oh, and wow. It's the second highest vineyard, I think, in all of Napa at 2,500 feet. Yeah. So mountain fruit is just off the charts from intensity level and stuff like that. Yep. But I was unaware that you had to devigorate Syrah. So Syrah is just really intense until you kind of like tone it down.
It'll become a great looking bush. Yeah. So, so you graft it onto different root stocks, 110R, 1103 Paulson. We did 110R, but it tends to slow the growth a bit and not make it so bushy. You can still go through and thin it to get the same thing, but it's better if it gets closer naturally, right? Trying to use nature wherever we can.
Absolutely. And one of the things I find funny is that there's zoning ordinances with where you can plant in Napa, and steepness is there. And you're not allowed to go above 30% grade.
Yeah.
But the nice thing is someone with some intelligence wrote, but it's blended. So it's not just this.
You take the average. You take the average, and there's a lot of 29.9 averages or 14.9 averages, which is a couple of my blocks. So in other words, you have at the top of one, you have 0. And here you have 30. And then you have to find a tangent that's 14.9. And shockingly, that works out. Now, I don't think they don't like that anymore. So, yeah. I have some great friends in Napa County. We've gotten to know each other over the years, and they're very good people.
Because and I think this actually,
they're wonderful people, and please don't come after me again. No,
I won't even share this. This is only going to be seen by like.
I know, nobody's watching it. Just you and I, anyway.
You're fine. So besides Syrah, what else did you plant?
So I was originally setting out to do a field blend. So I was trying to really get it to a certain percentage of Syrah, and I've got 6 different clones that I chose to, because I wanted to mix it up a little bit. I want to be dedicated just to one clone in case I didn't like it, right? And also kind of trying to, many different varietals in Châteauneuf-du-Pape wine, 13, 14, varietals necessarily too. And I wasn't going to do that many, but I wanted to do some different clones. So there's 6 different clones of Syrah planted, 3 different clones of Grenache Noir, 1 Mourvèdre and 1 Counois. And those are the red varietals. And the white varietals are Grenache Blanc and Viognier. And it was kind of interesting when I got my first one. Yeah, go ahead.
No, and the names of the wines are not conventional.
Right.
So
kind of the underlying theme, right?
You're not just gonna call it Syrah,
right,
or Viognier.
Right. So here is the irony in this whole thing, especially given this year. But I set out to make one great red wine or a great salad dressing, but it was going to be great. And so our first harvest in 2007, we got some fruit. It was very young fruit, wasn't going to make a red wine. So we made a rosé. We made 2 barrels, 50 cases of rosé. And we tasted it and we're like, oh. And we made it again like a real wine. A lot of rosés are signated off and it's extra juice that people used to throw away. Now they put it in a bottle and that sort of thing. And we could have a whole discussion on rosés sometime too, because how the American palate has evolved kind of to where the European palate is on rosé is a whole nother story too. And I didn't want a sugar bomb. I wanted a very, high acid, dry, luscious, wonderful summer poolside rosé. Anyway, so we did that. And a friend of mine said the San Francisco Chronicle is having a rosé tasting contest. You should send yours in. And I'm like, are you nuts? We don't know what the hell we're doing. I mean, they might put it on salad again, that thing. And it was 2 weeks in the bottle. We had just bottled it. And he goes, what do you care? And I'm like, you're right. I don't care. Let's do it. So we sent it in. Long story, I think it was 187 rosés they tasted, and they picked their favorite 20. Didn't rank them. They just picked their favorite 20, and ours was one of them. And I was shocked and happy, but it was good. And I liked it.
Right.
It wasn't the main Tempier, which is what we'd like to go for, but never going to get there. But
I like it.
It was good. And
so did that excite and scare the hell out of you? Like, oh wow, now
no, it all excited to me because first of all, it was like proof of concept, right?
Yep.
Wait a minute, we can get drinkable good wine out of this, right? Holy, this might actually work. So, but what I had done, the wine that I was going to develop, I wanted to use an elemental name, and the one wine I was going to make, I was going to call it Fire, which we can get into that later, but because that's a whole other story. But so I was going to call it Fire. But again, so rosé, I'm not going to call that Fire. So I said, let's stick with the elemental theme. We'll call it Air. Because to me, it was refreshing. It was, I wanted something to kind of go on. The next year, the Grenache Blanc and the Viognier started to produce. And I had always wanted to experiment using a little bit of that in the red. There's a dirty little secret that sometimes they use that too, and it enhances the bouquet a little bit. And it was more to kind of test it all out. And I think when I planted, my 100 vines of Grenache Blanc at the time, I became the 3rd largest producer of Grenache Blanc in California. So it was not exactly a well-known varietal too.
But speaking of the varietals, you've got Grenache Blanc and you've got Grenache Noir. And how do they differ just from Grenache?
Well, it's the same family too, but one's a white grape, white group, and one's a red grape too. And a lot of these, I should mention, I was able to piece this vineyard together and all these vines together from, I'm going to get 300 vines of this and 400 vines of that based on what I could get through Tablas Creek, which is owned by Chateau Beaucastel, who brought the Beaucastel clones over, went through the 2-year quarantine, and they'd always have a few extra of their vines available. And so not easy to find, but you know me, I'm a little persistent. So I was able over a couple of years to put it all together. Not exclusively their clones, but quite a few of them.
Right. So Tablas Creek is owned by
Chateau Beaucastel. Yeah.
I did not know that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. And they're great.
They're great wines. Yeah. Let me just show people what we're talking about on why this is just such a spectacular setting.
Sure.
and we'll go to our good friend Google Earth. So
Google Earth
everyone,
time.
the chanting was intense in the comment line. Google Earth. So yeah, Scotland, it's go time, baby.
So yeah, so are you rotating to Avignon or no?
No, I would have. That would have been actually the accelerated model of presenters and people that know what they're doing. But I do want to, we always start for the new folks with what is wine region to Cellar Angels. And this happens to actually be Jeff's backyard and where he grew up. So we focus exclusively on Napa County and Sonoma. And I'm always amazed when people see this for the first time, they come away with the impression, rightfully so, wow, Sonoma is huge.
Yep.
And it's quite big, quite diverse, really rugged terrain. And I can't remember what the specifics are, but it's impressive that this region here, because of the coastal influence, because of the volcanic influence, it has something like 16 of the 33 soil types in the world. And it's one of the most diverse collections of soils that you can find anywhere on the planet, which is why the wines are so darn good. But from a Jeff Loomis standpoint, we have three views. I want to show people first where you are in relation to Napa.
Right.
So as you can see, Napa proper right here, Yountville right here, Rutherford. And I've made this drive a dozen or so times. You've made it 4,000 or more.
Yeah.
How long is the drive from downtown Napa to your place?
If I'm driving?
If someone is obeying the speed limit.
Oh, let's go 25, 30 minutes.
Okay.
It's only 7 miles, 8 miles.
Right. And it's
but that includes the death-defying last 2 miles up the private road.
Yeah. So, and we're going to show them that aspect of it, because now you get to see a little bit about, the mountainous aspect of where Jeff's property is. And why when we go behind the gates, we literally find some obscure places that source great wine. This is one of them. So that's where the ranch is.
Yeah,
this is the driveway coming down, and there's a private gate right here that I still have the code for, unless they changed it since our last accident. And now, you can very easily discern just the magnitude of steepness of this road, because this is all private driveway. And when I tell you that it's the size of a cart path, I'm not kidding you.
You're not kidding. It's paved.
Yeah, it's paved
with cows.
With cows, yes. You have to navigate livestock.
Yes.
And then you get all the way up to the top, or darn near the top of the mountain, and you start to see, hang on a second, there's a house and vineyards up here.
Right. Who the heck knew that?
Yeah, I took some Google Earth lessons this week. But I want people to realize the steepness a little bit, because you can't see it right in here, but this is the top of a mountain. So if we pan over, you start to see the mountain materialize, and here's the lake that is behind Jeff.
Yeah.
But we fly over Jeff's house.
Yeah.
The vineyard, and then you literally go off a cliff.
There's my solar array.
Your solar array, yeah. It is about as pretty a property as I've seen.
Thanks.
And one thing that I want to draw attention to, because we're going to have a discussion about it, is that this imagery is from September 1st of 2018, which is why everything looks so lush and fertile, because like you said, you are at elevation, you're in the middle of an oak forest.
Right.
And if I fast forward to today, the picture's not as clear, but the fires that came through did some extensive damage.
Yes. Yeah.
So, you have, oh, wow, that was.
We lose you? Hello? Hello? Hello?
Idea.
Perfect.
Of, are you there?
Yep, back.
Okay. That gives you an idea of the insanity of actually growing, planting, clearing all of this vineyard land. And one of the greatest things about Jeff, and there are many, is his attitude. And, Jeff had a fire accident this year, the house I just showed you on Google Earth, in February or March or April.
On
in
Easter.
April, on Easter Sunday, burnt to the ground.
Yes.
So I've been in that house a number of times. It's an absolutely extremely cool, sophisticated home that has every accoutrement you would want to have, both in the house and outside the house. Pool, bocce, you name it, fire pit, pizza oven, all of it's there. And that was gone. And then October, the fires come raging through. And when you live in an oak forest, most of us know oak's pretty good burning wood. And you lost a lot of the trees, some of the vineyards. Walk me through kind of the fire damage this year.
Yeah, so the last fire burned the barn where I had all my vintage cars stored, and burned through the vineyards. Lost nearly all of the harvest. The vines are going to be okay because fortunately we manicure the vineyards pretty well. So the cover crop in between the rows burned. So there was heat, there's ash, there's smoke. The fruit was not gonna. Some people are making wines this year. I was not gonna make something out of that, but I did come up with a solution for what we were able to do. And I had some truffle oaks planted too, and lost 90% of those.
Some what?
So they're oak trees that are inoculated with truffle. So I'm a partner with American Truffle Company, and we're experimenting about growing truffles in Napa County. So there's plenty of oak trees. So so you grow them from scratch, and 6 or 7 years you have truffles.
Get out of town.
Word to God. And you said somebody from Scotland, the chief scientist and one of the foremost experts in truffles, is in Scotland. I think he's in the Isle of Man or something, some university there.
Oh, I said Scotland because his name is Scotland. It's like coolest first name ever.
Yeah. Totally.
So how is the fruit? I mean, how is the truffle produced on a tree?
No, they're fungi. They grow under the ground.
Right. So you just grafted them to oak rootstock, essentially.
The oak trees are inoculated with truffle, and they form under the ground given the right conditions. And when we've got the right conditions.
Wow. I've got 3 questions from the audience.
Yes. Black Perigords.
Oh, wow. That was one of the questions. White truffle or black truffle?
Yep. Yeah. Whites are really only from Alba, and they're like right now, this is the month for white truffle. It's unbelievable. It's great. I think the current price I saw for white truffles, $13.50 a pound, as in $1,350 a pound. They're exquisite, but there's a very short season for them too. Perigords are just amazing. And that's kind of that's what we're going for.
I clearly have to up my truffle game.
Well, unfortunately, they're not having Truffle Fest this year. It's usually in January in Napa Truffle Fest. And but you got to come out next year. You guys should come out. And be my guests. Come on out.
I'll be out there for that for sure. And then Nelson Holden wants to know, when are you going to begin importing pigs?
Fortunately or unfortunately, in some cases, they're already there. So I have wild pigs, wild boar on the property. I've got plenty of war stories about that too. In fact, the little bit of lawn you can see behind Martin's ear has been recently chewed up from the wild boar. They're very shy animals, but they are out there. And given the fires, the ecosystem's just a mess, and the animals are everywhere. We had a mountain lion running around down by my barn, and it makes it even a little bit more adventurous.
And so as it relates to the fire, in typical Jeff Loomis fashion, you decided to make lemonade out of lemons, and you've done something pretty special and pretty noteworthy. Why don't you share with us what you've decided to do? Thanks.
Well, I mean, I don't know, just the nature of my life and where I've come from and life experiences always kind of forces me to focus on the good. And how can I make something that's bad into something good? And my immediate thought on tasting the fruit and seeing that it had gone through all the vineyards was, we got to figure out some way to do that. If we can salvage this, what can we do? So what we're doing is we're making a wine called Smoke, and I'm going to donate it to local restaurants, small restaurants, not chains, and they can sell it for whatever they want to sell it for. And the deal is they get to keep half of what they sell it for, and they donate the other half to fire victims funds. So it's a way to create something. So I just did a barrel sample. We tasted it. I used some 19 juice too, because we wouldn't have enough. And we're going to get about 75 cases. And it's pretty good. It's 60% Mourvedre and 40% Syrah. And it's a fun food wine, you know, and that's what it's meant to be. And we're trying to get it in bottle as quickly as we can. Probably, we want to give it some time in oak, but probably January, February, because right now restaurants need our help, you know. It's you know, it's a nationwide problem.
And it's great too, because like you said, it's a food friendly wine, which most Rhône wines are. I mean, they're meant to be paired with food. And so
absolutely,
looking at your portfolio and specifically the Ember that folks are drinking or will be drinking after the order, give us some can't miss food pairings that you've discovered over the years.
Oh, get the grill out, get the pizza oven out. All of my wines are meant to be fun and approachable. You know, they don't require too much analysis. Hopefully they're just yummy. And, you know, I get some black plum and raspberry and all those wonderful things in there too. And there's more finish. Ember, the name, by the way, came out of me believing that the fruit wasn't quite ready to make fire. So this was little fire. That's where Ember came from. And ironically, the very first fire is in barrel as 2019. So it's like we had fires in 17, we had fires in 20, and leave it, you know, 2021, the very first fire, the wine I set out to make 20 years ago, is finally going to be released. So, and I got to tell you something, I don't usually do this. It rocks. It's so good. I can't even tell you, but there's not much of it. But anyway.
The studio informs me that they did not hit the delay there, so that went out live.
Sorry.
No, you're all good.
I get excited about that wine.
That's exciting. And so, what is the plan now that you know, the vineyards got a little bit? Are they just going to regenerate themselves and be good next year? They're
going to be fine. The vines, you know, we've got to replace. I think it's a couple dozen, you know, of the couple thousand. So it's not. You know, that they're going to be okay. You know, remember, a lot of it's underground too. And the fire didn't really burn the vines. It burned down the aisles between the vines. So there's some heat damage, you know, and it's the most ironic thing. You go out there and you see, in some cases, the leaves weren't even burned. They were still green. And the fruit was perfect, right in the fruit zone where it needs to be. And it looks beautiful. You taste it and it's, you know, I told somebody, it's going to the grocery store, buying a cluster of grapes and hold it in your fireplace for 24 hours. It's not gonna turn out well.
No.
So, but hey, we scratch that and we move on.
Let me, Peter Glick is having difficulty ordering air off of your website, and he lives in Illinois. Is that a technical issue, or is that a regulatory issue?
It's not an issue. Tell him to email me.
Peter will get you an email.
Yeah.
And you aren't planning on putting smoke on your website, are you?
No, that's purely going to be philanthropy. Be donated to local restaurants in Napa and San Francisco.
And out of curiosity, if all the stars are in alignment, what is the maximum production capacity these 4 blocks or these vineyards can produce?
Yeah, we would get up to close to 1,000 cases. You know, we've been hovering about 500 or 600. You know, I've got a new block coming online too. So I don't want to get much bigger than that. So
see, now I think I detect in you kind of that mad scientist of creativity.
Yes.
Where you have a passion for, if we did this with the Mourvedre and then we grab some of this and then, I need more land for that. You know, I can just see this going off the rails.
Exactly right. And those are almost daily conversations with Michael and you know, and Candelario. And we're like, what if we did this over here? Doesn't it seem like it's two degrees cooler down over here than it is over there? And that makes more sense for the Grenache Blanc. So yeah, we do that a lot. And you see our blending sessions too, because we make all these wines separately and then blend them in the end. So, we do 4 separate harvests for a vineyard this size. Think about that.
Wow.
Which is insane just by definition. But we do a harvest for the rosé. Specific rows are pulled for the rosé to make sure the acidity is still high, the fruit is fairly fresh, and then we do one for the Grenache Noir, Mourvedre, and Counois, and then we do. But before that, we do one for the Grenache Blanc and the Viognier. And then the fourth and last one is the Syrah.
And everything's hand harvested. It's not like there's a lot of equipment that can go up there.
No machines. Everybody wants to come for a harvest party, and when they actually do, they do like 3 vines at 4 a.m. They're like, "This is supposed to be fun." I'm like, "It's not. It's hard. It's really hard." They have their miners hats on with the lights on, and they're at 4 a.m. and they're for sure hungover from the night before. And
it's chilly. It's like, this is not charcuterie and a mani
This is not the romantic experience I was thinking of at a harvest party.
Exactly. No, that's good stuff. So talk to me about, and also, by the way, I'm getting a number of people that now are claiming that you can't, something's going on that from Illinois, but on the website that's not allowing.
Just to have them email me directly and I'll take care of them for sure. And the problem is the website company, actually the hosting company, Wine Direct's in Napa. And I think there was some impact there from the fire too. So we've got some glitches on that front too, but we'll get those fixed. We can ship to Illinois.
And anybody that wants the Ember, you can always get it from Cellar Angels.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
You also have a wine on your site called Alimony.
Yes. And there's a story there too. You want the PG version of that one? So,
I love the fact, first of all, I love the story, but I love the fact that the name was available.
Oh, I was shocked. I was absolutely shocked and very happy. And several people tried to talk me out of it, but no, what happened is I decided to get divorced. I went through a divorce. It was a long one. And there were 13.
By the way, a lot of folks are voting that they want the non-PG version.
The non-PG version? But I can't swear on Zoom. I think there's like editing controls. Let's just say that 11 attorneys were involved.
I'm sure that was inexpensive.
So that was fun. No, but what happened is the 13 barrels of wine stuck in divorce jail. Like literally, I couldn't get to them, and I was I was not able legally to touch them, or no one was, by design, right? It was like, we're going to try and ruin these wines, that sort of thing. So fortunately, I had some people going in back doors where they were stored and testing them and making sure that they were kept up the whole time. And that's where the lack of PG version part comes in. Anyway, so when I finally freed them, free at last, we sat down and we tasted them all. And I'm like, what the heck are we going to do with these things? And I'm like, let's just make a blend. Let's make a red blend. Let's make a yummy, fun food wine, be a fun wine, and he goes, great, but you're not going to call it Ember. I'm like, no, I'm going to call it Alimony. And they're like, no, you're not. I'm like, yes, I am. And people are, no, call it Resolution. That's more positive. I said, and boring. And so Alimony is a fun name. And another funny story is I talked to the California Bar Association and recommended it for their annual dinner.
Did they take you up on it?
Yeah, we were going to, but then COVID hit. So yeah. Oh,
I love it.
Again,
making lemonade out of lemons.
Yeah, and it's a good wine. It's a few restaurants have it by the glass, and it's yummy. Ember is obviously a much more structured and and more well balanced wine. Alimony is a fun wine.
So who in the wine industry have you looked up to from a standpoint of, I want to make wines like that person, or I want to have, from a mentoring standpoint?
Wow. Well, the wineries that I always loved, mostly are French. I Domaine Tempier, Pichon Lalonde, the Comtesse. I was privileged enough to meet her once, and was just awed by how impressive this woman was and her passion for the wines. I had a great story. I was actually on the property there in their laboratory, and I was looking out the window and I saw this like Roman thing out in a vineyard. I'm like, why does that look familiar? What the heck is that? And I finally asked him, he goes, that's Latour. So it's literally Latour from Latour, which borders Pichon Lalonde. So, I mean, I think Guigal has done, Guigal has gotten huge.
I was going to say they're massive.
But he didn't used to be. And he makes some three single vineyard Côte Rôties that are truly, truly magical wines too. When it comes to Napa, I mean, I always like Randy Dunn's wines, those Cow Mountain Cabs, not well known, but if you wait 20 years to drink them, they're pretty magical. Otherwise they're leather before that.
They're leather and your tongue is stuck to the roof of your mouth and you can't get the tannins done, but
they're chewy. They're chewy, but I always like some of those things too. I cut my teeth on Napa Cabs with Silver Oak, like most people, back when Dustin was around, and he was a crazy guy. He was a Jesuit priest wearing tie-dye pants all the time. And his wife, Bonnie, I always liked his Bonnie's Vineyard when he did it. He did that till about 1991. And that was a little parcel that he made, and he had to stop making it because it was too popular. But it was this herbaceous, earthy cab, and he was a big proponent of American oak. I use only French oak. Ember, for example, is 100% French oak, 30% new, 70% 1 year old.
Right.
And we even make the rosé. We make the rosé in oak. We put that in oak for 6 months. 5-year-old neutral oak, just to give it some roundness. I mean, the things we do to these wines is not normal, but it's all aimed at trying to create something special.
And you've talked, I love the passion for the reds. The rosé is very, very special, but you also make some sleeper killer white wines. Tell me a little bit about the white wine portfolio.
So Grenache Blanc, so Snow is the white, and it's predominantly Grenache Blanc with some Viognier in there for a little floral bouquet too. But Grenache Blanc is a tricky varietal because if you leave it on the vine too long, you get real syrupy honey sweetness, and I don't want anything to do with that. But if you pick it at the right time, like literally on the day or within a day of when the acidity is right, it is beautiful and luscious and not quite Chablis-like, because Chablis is more minerally, but it's got that kind of, it's one of these things that I can't stop drinking. If I open a bottle, I'll drink the whole thing. And it's fun to let them sit out for an hour or two and see how they evolve, and not drink it too cold. People sometimes drink their whites too cold and you don't get to taste what's really there.
No, and it has that racy acidity, but it still has and it's pretty magical.
Nice.
The thing I marvel at is when you say we've got to pick it at exactly the right time. How do you get a vineyard crew up there?
Well, I have guys that have worked with me for 15 years, and they know, and if I need them at 4 a.m. the next morning, I have this great relationship with them. They get it done. So,
that's fantastic.
It's the only way it works. And don't underestimate the value of those guys. I mean, Candelario has been with me 15 years, and he works at a few different vineyards too, but I'm his favorite one, I'm sure. But no, I think he cares, and you get people involved in this thing that care and kind of relate to the passion and the experience. And everybody wants to make it as great as possible. And there's nothing better than when, after we bottle and sit around, and when the wine's released and actually taste it. And it's fun. We'll barrel sample too and taste them along the way. I just tasted Fire, like I said, and Ember 19 and Smoke. We just did a quick barrel sample of those. And, you can taste the evolution. And I've taken friends to where let's go barrel sample. And then a year later, let's go back and barrel sample again and see if they can detect and see the differences. And it's pretty fun.
That's the producer is actually asking me, what do we have to do to get that tasting? Because apparently we aren't friends because we haven't been doing anything.
We will arrange that. We'll do that for sure.
Mission Control is wondering how do we do the barrel samples. I have two questions for you.
Yeah, sure.
I'm curious what Jeff Loomis today would tell Jeff Loomis, the bicycle rider in Avignon.
Oh, wow.
As
What
far
would
as,
I say?
as far as life, looking at life.
I think it kind of symbolizes the bike ride is kind of the journey, and that's what I've gone on. I mean, my life has been this ridiculous journey that if I sat here for 8 hours and told you, you'd be like, no way, no. No, it's insane thing after insane thing after insane thing, and it's damn near unbelievable, but it's real, and it's been exciting, and it always ends up pretty good. You know, there's always ups and downs, but that's part of life and part of the journey. And I think, you know, I have a thirst for life. I enjoy living even in the bad times, right? And trying to find out, like right now, it's so important that we all just be kind to each other and, you know, buy coffees. I sent my local coffee baristas a case of wine. They thought I was Santa Claus, you know, and they won't let me pay for a macchiato now. And I'm like, stop it. That's not the point.
Right.
You know, but it's just about being kind to everybody right now. And I think that's kind of, I think it was a good idea back then, you know, and I think it's still a good idea today. And
then now you've been at this for 20 years since you bought the property.
Yeah.
15 since you know, pulled a grape off a vine.
Yep.
And what do you see from a future standpoint? When will you just look back and just go, okay, nailed it. This is what I want. This, you know, when will you ever have arrived, or is it always the journey?
No, because, you know, you can't be happy. You know, you always think when you get there, then you'll be happy, and you got to be happy all along the way. And for me, the journey never ends. It's like, let's see what we can do next. You know, let's see where we can take this wine. You know,
clearly obvious you're not having a lot.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, clearly obvious you're not having a lot of fun doing this.
No fun at all. But yeah, and the property is going to be different. You know, it's like I'm doing some crazy stuff with it, and you'll get to see some of it next year. And it will be a very different, you know, experience with the house, because you can't really rebuild that house that way. The codes have all changed, and it was this little architectural gem, right? But you can't do it anymore. So when I see that you can't do it, I look for something else. So now it's going to be something completely different, and you're gonna laugh, and hopefully you'll like it. And I think it'll be a special place, and hopefully we can have all these people come out and join us sometime.
Well, I hope so too. And I know Sean and Marilyn just left a very nice comment in the comment line, because they've actually been to your house with us and got to experience the famous Loomis hospitality. And I can't believe how fast this time goes when we're talking with you, because it's a blast.
Wow.
I'm very, very thankful for you sharing great wine with us, great stories and everything. And I have one more poll question. Holy cow.
Sure.
I've got that. I'm sure the networks will let us run over. In 2005, Jeff opened up Loomis Vineyards on his mountaintop property, complete with horses, cattle, and ducks. Of these, his favorite animal is. Hang on. A lot of people voting. I've got answers for all three. I see a lot of wages going around, a lot of betting. We're going to give this 10 more seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Now, I technically don't know the answer to this. I'm not sure I do. No swans, but yeah, no. Yeah, I mean, my horse passed away a few years ago. He was very special to me. I have one horse left. He's a Frisian. He's 27 years old. He's this big black monster who thinks he's a teddy bear, and he wants to come up. In fact, there's a couple videos, I think, on either my Facebook page or the winery Facebook page of me interacting with him after fires in the last couple of days and a couple of years. And so he's my favorite animal for sure. Yeah. Okay, well, good. Thank you for that. I lost a lot of money because I would have said ducks.
Well, fighting ducks. You betcha. Harvard to the West Coast, baby. Harvard to the West Coast.
You are awesome. I love it. Thank you for spending a little time with us.
Thank
Everyone
you guys.
else, to Jeff's point, as we close and sign off every week, be good to one another. Don't forget, if you're ordering Thanksgiving kits, you got to do it fast. Otherwise, you are going to be a goat at that dinner, because they are not going to arrive in time. Sip kits are always available, and the new inventory has been replenished. Gift sets, please order it ahead. Next week, we have a special food and wine culinary experience that we're going to be having with a person who has taught me more about wine than anybody else. So I hope you stick around next week. And if it's Friday, it must be Sip. Jeff, you are fantastic. I'm glad you're healthy. I'm glad you're well.
Anytime, man.
Cheers to you.
Cheers,
I have
guys.
to go fill my
Cheers,
glass.
everybody. Thank you,
Cheers,
guys.
everyone.